All right, Commissioner O'Donnell, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Vice President Fielder?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
All right, very good. Good morning. Time is now 9:32 a.m. Today's date is Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. This is the time and place for our regularly scheduled business meeting. We are in the offices of the Public Service Commission, specifically the Bollinger Room. I will call this meeting to order. Would my colleagues join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, colleagues. I would note for the record that Commissioner Pinocci, myself, Commissioner Bukacek are present in the Bollinger Room. Vice President Fielder and Commissioner O'Donnell are participating online. Therefore, we do have quorum. All right, this is time and place for public comment. Montana Public Service Commission welcomes public comment on any matter that is on today's agenda or on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Montana Public Service Commission. Is there public comment in the room? Public comment in the room? Seeing none. Is there any public commenters online? I am being told there is not, so no public comment this morning. There are no changes to the agenda today, so we'll move right into our action items. Action item number 1 is approval of the commission minutes for the week of December 4th, 2023. Is there a motion? Commissioner Bukacek.
I move that we approve the commission minutes for the week of December 4th, 2023.
Is there a second? Commissioner Pinocci has seconded. We have motion and second. All right. Are there any changes, revisions to the draft minutes as drafted for the week of December 4th, 2023? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner Bukacek's motion to drop the minutes for the week of December 4th, 2023 as drafted, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Minutes are adopted. All right, let's move into the work session. Work session item number 1 is docket 2023.09.081. This is Northwestern Energy's annual PCAM filing. Commission is here to consider Northwestern's request to adjust the current interim rate to update its PCAM deferred balance and rates to reflect the PCAM base approved in final order 7860Y in docket 2022.07.078. Mr. Fink.
Good morning, President and Commissioners. As you just mentioned, this is for docket 2023.09.081. On September 1st, 2023, Northwestern Energy filed with the Commission an application seeking approval of a rate adjustment pursuant to its electric tariff. This is also known as the Annual Power Cost and Credits Adjustment Mechanism, or PCAM. The rate adjustment requested in Northwestern's application became effective October 1, 2023 on an interim basis. On November 17th, 2023, Northwestern filed an amendment to its application, as well as a motion to adjust interim rates. The Montana Consumer Council and Northwest Energy Coalition intervened in this docket, and no party has opposed Northwestern's motion. In its motion, Northwestern seeks to modify the interim rate adjustment due to the Commission's approval of a modification to the PCAM base in final order 7860Y in docket 2022.07.078. In final order 7860Y, the Commission approved a PCAM base of $208,282,098 that went into effect July 1st, 2022. The approved PCAM base in final order 7860Y was greater than the 2 prior PCAM bases used to set rates during the tracking period and used to calculate the interim rates that took effect on October 1st, 2023. According to Northwestern, As a result of the increase in the PCAM base approved in final order 7860Y, the deferred balance increased $2,904,726. Northwestern attributes the increase in the deferred balance to a reduction in Northwestern's total cost sharing of the power, costs, and credits expenses in excess of base revenues. The typical residential customer using 750 kilowatt hours will see an increase of 42 cents on their monthly bill. Staff recommends approval. If Lucas has anything to add, he can do so now, or we're available for questions.
All right, Mr. Hamilton waves off. All right, thank you, Mr. Fink. Colleagues, I will move to approve Northwestern's motion to adjust the PCAM interim rate and to have the commission issue the order granting the motion to adjust interim rates as the final order of the commission. Is there a second? Commissioner Pinocci has seconded. So we have motion and second. Discussion? Questions?
Mr. President,
Commissioner O'Donnell.
thank you. I wanted to point out once again that this docket right here, this especially the explanation given and all of the details to it, really point out how formulaic and how technical it is, that it's not setting rates. Increases or decreases are not arbitrary and capricious. It's not up to commissioners or staff to decide what they want to do, but it's the facts that dictate things. And I applaud the staff. This is a highly complicated matter, and I really appreciate the work that they did on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. Additional discussion? Additional discussion? I would just note for the record, in support of my own motion, that as was averred to by Mr. Fink, we did have two parties intervene in this proceeding, and they are not opposing the adjustment as requested. Additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of my motion to issue the order granting motion to adjust interim rates as the final order of the commission, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying no. Being no opposition, motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you, Mr. Fink. All right, let's move to work session item number 2. This is docket 2022.07.073. This is Coal Strip Energy Limited Partnership, otherwise known as KELP. KELP's QF petition. We're here to consider both KELP's and Northwestern Energy's motions for reconsideration. Mr. Poco.
President Brown, Commissioners, before you today is a draft order on reconsideration in docket 2022.07.073 concerning Coal Strip Energy Limited Partnerships, referred to as KELP, as you mentioned, qualified facility petition. Both KELP and Northwestern filed motions for reconsideration. Paragraph 11 of the draft order on reconsideration in your meeting materials today outlines the parties' requests for reconsideration. Ultimately, the draft order on reconsideration addresses 3 primary issues. First, the proxy resource used to calculate the avoided cost of capacity. Second, the calculation of the avoided cost of capacity. And third, contract provisions, including outages and security. Primarily, the draft order before you clarifies those issues. I will provide you a brief summary of each issue. Turning to the proxy resource, the commission originally found that Yellowstone County Generating Station, YCGS, was the appropriate proxy to use to calculate the avoided cost of capacity. The draft order addresses that issue on pages 3 through 6 and concludes that YCGS remains the appropriate proxy. Turning to the calculation of the avoided cost of capacity, under that, there are 3 primary issues. First, the parties disputed several variables used to calculate the avoided cost of capacity. The draft order provides clarity to the parties on those particular variables. There are several outlined in the final or in the draft order on reconsideration. Second, Northwestern asserted it did not have a capacity need in all periods during the life of the contract. In the commission's final order, the commission found that KELP was owed payments in all periods over the life of KELP's contract. The draft order retains that decision. The discussion concerning this issue is found in paragraphs 22 through 30 of the draft order. Third, Northwestern requested that the commission reconsider the use of the word average in KELP's capacity contribution. As a reminder, the commission approved KELP's capacity contribution as defined in Exhibit MPG 5, Exhibit A. That exhibit contemplated that KELP is obligated to provide Northwestern with an average of 32,000 kilowatts during the daily peak hours established by the energy imbalance market in some summer months and an average of 37,000 kilowatts during other months during the daily peak hours established by the energy imbalance market. Paragraph 33 of the draft order before you discusses declining Northwestern's request to reconsider this issue. In summary, paragraph 33 discusses that the contract and KELP's proposed capacity contribution provide adequate assurances of reliability. Up until this point of this discussion, the draft order primarily was clarifying the commission's decision in its final order and addressing the arguments provided by each of the parties. Turning to the disputed contract terms, the parties requested reconsideration of the commission's decision concerning the outage and security contract terms. In the commission's final order, the commission found that Northwestern's outage provisions were inappropriate because there were concerns that the outage provisions were not suited for a coal-fueled generation resource. The commission encouraged the parties to negotiate the outage provisions. Considering that both parties requested reconsideration of this issue, staff found it necessary to provide resolution. On reconsideration, commission staff recommends changing its findings with concern to the outage provision. As the commission found in its final order, outage provisions are an important provision to be included in a purchase power agreement. The outage provisions found in Northwestern's Form PPA Article 6 are important to Northwestern's resource planning. Furthermore, the provisions are also consistent with KELP's large generator interconnection agreement. Finally, there were no other outage provisions in the record evidence. KELP's request for reconsideration on this issue was to measure the outages on a quarterly basis rather than a monthly basis. This request was construed as a request to modify section 5.4 concerning the mechanical availability guarantee. Ultimately, the draft order before you accepted Northwestern's motion for reconsideration on the outage issue by including Article 6 and also recognized KELP's request by modifying section 5.4 concerning the mechanical availability guarantee. Finally, the KELP requested that the commission reconsider the security provision. In the commission's final order, the commission included this security provision. The final order retains the security provision and also allows Northwestern to modify that provision to reflect the start date of the contract in a full year's capacity payment. Staff recommends that the commission approve the draft order on reconsideration as the final order on reconsideration and allows staff to make non-substantive edits required for clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poco. Mr. Templeton, anything to add? He waves off. All right. Is there a motion? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I would like to move to accept staff's report on this issue with Colstrip Energy Limited Partnership at Northwestern. Thank you.
All right. Is there a second? Commissioner Pannocci has second. We have a motion and second. Discussion?
Mr. President.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Yeah, again, echoing the comments that I said on the previous issue, there's 230 pages that were included on this, with the motions and the responses to the motions and the order. And I'm very impressed that staff was very fair to all of the parties, was very prudent on their decisions, very clear on giving the reasons for making any decisions or recommendations that they made. I think it is a model of careful consideration that follows all the guidelines to be fair to all parties, and provides for the efficient production and transmission and use of electricity in Montana, furthering the commission's goals. My appreciation to staff for their work on this, and I recommend passage. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Donnell. Commissioner Bukacek?
On request number 1, I just wanted to summarize real quickly. The PSC based its decision to use YCGS based on the evidentiary record that YCGS was Northwest Energy's next plant unit of generation. And then the Montana Sun Supreme Court case concluded that the proxy resource must be the utility's next unit of generation or preferred resource identified, and YCGS has an actual starting date. So this to me seems like a easy one. The number 2.
Hold on. Mr. Poco, do you want to respond to that in any way?
No, thank you. I thought that might have been a question, so I was preparing to respond.
All right, Commissioner.
Do you want to turn it into a question? I just thought it was really clear cut, and I appreciate it. On request number 2, just wanted to acknowledge that it would be extremely anxiety provoking to be in the shoes of Kelp or Northwestern Energy and have to speculate a plan of any kind based on a long-term contract, 18.5 years from LEO in these days of tumultuous uncertainty. So I just want to acknowledge that. I think it would be extremely anxiety provoking. But, given that we're fortunate at the PSC, it's not our job to speculate about the future, right? But to weigh the evidence. And I like Commissioner O'Donnell's use of the term formulaic. I'm going to incorporate that into my vocabulary. Using complex data in formulas, and of course, different formulas can be used, and I recognize that. And even with the complexity and the different possibilities of formulas used, staff, you were able to clearly delineate the basis for your decisions, and I appreciate it, and I'll be a yes vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Bukacek. That was very formulaic. Additional discussion? Additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner O'Donnell's motion to approve the draft order on reconsideration as the final order of the commission and to allow for staff to make non-substantive edits as required for clarity, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Poco. Thank you, Mr. Templeton. All right, before we go into work session item number 3, which will be a closed proceeding, I'll just make some announcements for viewing public. PSC will be appearing before the Interim Budget Committee, Section D, tomorrow at 4:15 p.m. at the State Capitol Building to discuss our budget for this year and our progress on that. And then the next commission business meeting will be at the regular time next Tuesday, December 19, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. All right, turning back to work session item number 3. This is a litigation status update. This is a commission initiated matter. We'll be convening to provide to hear an update on currently pending litigation and to discuss litigation strategy that involves the agency. This matter will be closed to the public, as I stated. I will now read into the record the following. The presiding officer of any meeting, which is me in this case, may close the meeting during the time discussion relates to a matter of litigation and or litigation strategy, and the presiding officer determines the need to protect agency litigation discussion, making and discussing and the discussion exceeds the merits of public disclosure. The discussion in the upcoming closed session will involve discussions and decision-making related to ongoing litigation in which the agency is involved as a party. Accordingly, as the presiding officer of this meeting, I am closing the remainder of this meeting to the public. And at the conclusion of our litigation status update, we will adjourn today's business meeting. All right, thank you everybody for coming. Colleagues, we will convene in the commission conference room in 9 minutes, 8 minutes now, 10 a.m. We will see you shortly.